Welcome back to another triathlon podcast brought to you by Mana Apparel. It has been the craziest weekend with everything going on at the Ironman World Championships in Nice. That was a race for the ages and not one that I think we will ever forget. And a pretty epic Norwegian podium at the end. But we're going to jump in. We've got an interview actually with the coach of the Norwegians who kind of got them started in this whole process and go all the way back to 15 young Norwegian athletes as they started to start up the basically Norwegian Triathlon Federation and what that journey looked like. So stay tuned. We will pop that interview in at the end here. But first, let's catch up with the crew, see what's going on in their world. I'm joined by Josh and Fede as always, and I'm Jenna Sayer. And let's start with Fede. What have you been up to these days?
Yeah, hey guys. Just running a lot, putting in the miles on the legs, and yeah, I'm tired. And yeah,
Sure.
I'm also. I was telling Josh the other day that I'm behind on the fundraising because I'm running the New York Marathon for a charity, so I need to up my game with that. But yeah, doing a lot of intervals, and we like you said, Jenna, we talked to a very special Norwegian person, and I'm all about the intensity control on this run block.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm doing that, and happy that the body's responding well. Yeah, that's up with me. What about you guys? I know someone has world champs very soon.
Yeah, kind of quickly. It's funny how you mentioned you're tired. I had like an Instagram memory the other day where it's just a post of me saying like current status tired, and it was 2 years ago. So this time,
It's still true to this day.
I'm like, yeah, same deal. Once again, 3 weeks out from Kona and tired. It's a good.
Periodization.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I had some fun with the training I did. I've been doing this sport for 13 years now, and I did my longest bike ride ever on the weekend,
Mm.
which was a lot of fun. And shocking, we had nice enough weather here for it, but ended up going for 7 hours and can't remember what mileage I hit in there. I think it was like 130 miles or something like that. Um, but yeah, it was fun just kind of working on all of the preparation this year has been a lot more about endurance and resiliency than kind of speed. People just don't think about Kona is actually a fairly like hilly course. On the bike, you got over 5,000 feet of elevation. I think the run is like 1,100. So you have to not only be prepared for the heat and humidity, but there is some elevation to be done. So yeah, just went chasing hills, hit about just over 7,000 feet of climbing during that too. And then the next day, I had another one of those runs where it's like, okay, don't let how your body feels in the warm out, like get to your head when you start.
Mm.
I had anywhere from like 16 to 20 miles, and again, just like hit all the hills you can kind of training and push the downhills too. And the first 2 miles, I was doing this 4 mile loop with two hills in it. I didn't know if I was gonna make it all the way back for the 4 miles. Never mind. It was almost like the body just felt tired, the legs felt trash, and I was like, okay, just chill, let the body warm up. Don't try to push the pace in the warm up because it's just not happening. And yeah, body loosened up, everything started to feel good, and had a solid hilly run. So good signs for Kona, which is coming up way faster than seems right.
Just over 3 weeks away.
Man, that's coming up quick. Yeah.
Keep prep time.
That's another thing. I need to go spend a lot more time in the sauna this next little while here to get ready for that heat because we've had a nice fall, but not a Kona level fall. But I know you know the exact timing of the race coming up, Josh, because you are getting ready to race yourself. How's your training going?
Very, very well. A lot better than the week prior where I didn't crush my long run. But looking back at it, I all of these mindset pieces come into play when you're doing marathons and Ironmans and half Ironmans. It's the longevity game, like you talked about, and the muscle fatigue and just training the body to go longer distances. And a lot of this cycle has been that training that we just talked to our guest about, and the true mastermind of the Norwegian Method, by the way. It's been about the time on feet and really putting in the extra work, and I think at the end of this block, I will have gone pretty much 2 months with 1 day off running, and
Wow.
and up and down, volume wise, but it's been easy to manage intensity wise. And really now, as we get closer, the focus has been the long run is the intense day and knocking that out. So going into last weekend, I prepared all week that last weekend my long run was going to be like race day, and even trying to get up earlier and get out earlier and be around the humidity and around the same time. It was probably maybe an hour or half hour after what start time would be, but my body was fueled and recovered and ready for a long run like it was going to be a race day, and even took in some Morton bicarb and like just did everything I would normally do just to get the stomach ready and train everything. And sure enough, I was able to hit pretty much 16 miles dead straight at marathon pace, and 20 miles total, 2 up, 2 down. And this week I thought we would be doing the same thing, but I saw an extra 2 miles on that as well. So I'm flying to Chicago Friday morning, and Saturday morning we're doing the long run with the whole group of people doing the big long run weekend 3 weeks out. And I'll be doing 20 marathon pace miles, or 18. Sorry,
Wow.
18 marathon pace miles, 22 overall, 2 up, 2 down. So I was able to hit them, and that's insane. So even with the bad week the week before, and then this week, I've now set my half marathon PR 2 weekends in a row, which is insane.
That's amazing.
So if this weekend goes to plan, I'll have a third straight week of a half marathon PR, and then the real marathon PR hopefully coming on race day, right? Because I got to go. If I go even splits, sub 130 would be the goal. 130.30 and 129 would be nice on race day.
There we go.
with the negative split.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's again, it's one of those, like I look back, it's like I set a PR in my half marathon last week and didn't have the great long run that I wanted to. So it's all trusting the process and really getting the body ready to handle those intense miles. And even this past weekend, because I was prepared and rested and hydrated and had the carb loading done correctly, my heart rate sat lower than it sat on some of my like threshold runs and short, like 4 mile runs. So it was really, really positive in terms of confidence building. And even if I don't hit every pace, the overall workout itself was a success in getting the miles in. So that's been awesome. And that was on Saturday, so I could rest up on Sunday. I think the hardest part of the weekend was deciding how you took in the World Championship, and do I stay up? Do I take a nap on Saturday afternoon? And then get up? And for me, it started at 1 a.m. I think. So I decided to go to bed early, knowing I would probably wake up to have to go to the bathroom. And sure enough, I checked the tracker, and then got up for pretty much the end of the bike and the whole marathon.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way I'm staying up. I think it started at like 11 p.m. or something my time. So turned off all the notifications on everything everywhere.
I knew you had, because I didn't see you responding to anything.
Completely offline. And yeah, I think it got up at like 5 a.m. and started watching through the swim and all the way through, and kind of skipped a little bit of parts of the bike, but there was just so much going on that you couldn't skip much without missing anything. So my athletes that I coach may have had some extra spicy workouts at times, so I was getting fired up writing athlete plans while watching the race, but I was feeling inspired, I'll say.
And hopefully they are as well. I think I did the same thing for my guy who's preparing for Ironman Florida. I was like, oops, sorry, big week. You asked for an extra build week before the week off, so.
Here it is. Well, let's jump into the Ironman World Championships, because this is a race we're not soon going to forget. And we've seen a number of times where by the first couple K on the run, you have a pretty solid idea of what's going to happen or who the real contenders are. But the number of lead changes and switch ups all throughout this race was absolutely insane, ending in, of course, that Norwegian domination. But let's start off. The drama started right away from the swim, like from the very gun. And I know this reported on Pro Tri News. I don't know if you guys heard this. Apparently, there was a WhatsApp group chat between some of the faster swimmers come race
Oh,
day called Attack, where they were planning their strategy for the swim to go hard out in the front of the swim. And
Swimming through the bike too.
that was great. And conversations like this have definitely gone on in the past. We've had a couple stories that come out and stuff, but I think this is the first time we saw it where it wasn't specifically working for one person. They were all like, hey, let's just work together and see how we can smash this swim.
Knowing it's going to benefit one person at the end of the day, most likely,
Yeah.
maybe two.
Who ended up losing out on that benefit?
In the swim.
In the swim. Yeah, if you guys didn't see Sam Laidlow, it looks like he almost dropped out of the swim. So he was definitely the person that would benefit the most from that fast pack in the front, taking him away from some of his competitors. But it sounds like he had some cramping, and I guess his hip flexors or hips or something. And he at one point stopped swimming. It looked like for a second he was starting to swim back to shore. Like he was checked out, about to just not do this race. And having that kind of hiccup when you won here last time at the World Championships, that takes some mental toughness to turn around, keep going, knowing that you're not going to be in the position you want to be in. What do you guys think?
I mean, it left Jamie Riddle out there wondering where the heck he was too, because
my God, I was gonna say Jamie Riddle doing the backstroke, stop and go, looking around. I was like, bro, if you can do that swimming all out, I mean, you must
and still lead the pack out pretty much.
Yeah. He must have been
and
like
set a record for that swim. Right?
Amazing.
And to be able to swim like that, to just, backstroke for a while, take a little break, check out, see who's around, and still set a swim course record.
I think the only time I've stopped to do that during a triathlon is because I got water in my goggles, not because I wanted to look around and see what happened. Because just there's different. I don't think I'm ever going to understand how that feels, just being in control during the swim. So
no panic whatsoever. It was. I mean, it certainly added to the dynamic early on, because obviously I went back and watched a lot of it. I've just consumed all of the content leading into it and since, because it was just that epic. And that swim, like you listen to Casper talk about his race, and he was right there on that front pack, yet he couldn't stay with them at every turn buoy. And there's a lot of turn buoys on this Nice course with the M.Dot type look, and I think 6 turns. So he said they were pretty much sprinting out of every turn. It was almost like you crest a hill on the bike and go. That's what they were doing in the swim at the turn buoys. And that clearly happened in the WhatsApp group. Like they had that dialed in and planned and ready to go. And it was MVR and it was Jamie Riddle. And unfortunately they lost Sam, because the goal was ideally to get that group of 4 or 5 of them out of the swim together, tax the Norwegians, tax Magnus, get a whole bunch of other people, build up some lactate, knowing that you get that climb out of the town to come. And Sam wasn't there with them. And it was kind of like, how's this going to go? And then he walks through transition to get to his bike, and he's stretching out and taking his time. And we've seen him take his time in transition. But we also knew that he was supposed to be with Jonas and Jamie, and they were supposed to be riding together. And at that point, he was pretty much done. And it sounds like even soft pedaling out of town for a while. So, and then you come to find out he sets the bike course record. And he didn't even start for the first 5 miles.
Right. That guy's just a machine on the bike, and especially on a course like this where, knowing the technical riding, the descents, and knowing the roads makes such a massive difference. And it's funny because he's not a small guy either. He just rides it so technically well and has it dialed in, right? And we saw, I think that made a big difference in a lot of people's race. There were a few even crashes on the descents and stuff, but being able to actually ride that course fast took some know-how for sure.
Through those barricades, like where Nick Thompson passed Casper and kind of pissed Casper off a little bit right before they got to, I was like, Man, I hope this section is not part of the 70.3 World Course.
I want
That
to.
is insane.
I
Yeah,
want
you
to
better
see
start
how that worked with the
practicing
age
that.
groupers. Yeah, I can't imagine how that was with the age groupers. Like, I get the point; they're trying to slow everyone down before like this little bridge and stuff, but I'm just imagining carnage at that
Oh,
point.
Yeah.
Insane. And it sounds like we had Matthew Marquardt was towards the front of the race with the swim and stuff too, and this time he made it a little further. He didn't
got
cramp
on
his.
the bike.
He got on the bike, and then you just see him lose like 5 minutes in the first bit of the bike ride there, and it's like, oh, this guy, like the poor guy, just cramps up and can't seem to get that under control. But to still, like, he finished 8th overall in the
I
race
mean,
after cramping
huge
his
day.
45 minute.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
He and Laidlow gave up all that time at the beginning of that race,
Yeah.
and both finished in the top 8. And for Laidlow to hold on the run, I mean, you could tell on the run he wasn't really surging much. I think they maybe tried once to drop the Norwegians, but you could tell he was just kind of sticking to his pace so that he didn't blow up like he did in Kona.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was the big thing. But this bike course, it really, I think it makes it so much more interesting because you can't have those things go wrong early on. And because it is such a beast of a course, it's that true Ironman mentality of like, it's not over till it's over because there is so much time that they're out there on the course so much longer too. Makes a big difference for things to either go well or not go well, right?
Well, I think Laidlow actually is the reason why Kristian didn't win this race. I mean, to me,
Mm.
like, and you'll hear some in our interview, somebody stuck to their plan all day long, and
Yeah.
the other two shaded away from their plan a little bit. And you can even Gustav got away from his plan a little bit on the run, and then he missed that nutrition bottle too, which I think played a huge factor. But Christian's day, I think, kind of ended in terms of winning the race when he kept going with Laidlow on the surges after that out and back, and he saw him, and then Sam put in some effort. He had waited for Sam to get up, and then he went with him. And Casper and Gustav stayed back with Nick Thompson. And the
Mhm.
three of them kind of did their thing and knew that they just couldn't hang on with Sam at that. And Kristian went with Sam. And then Kristian would stand
Yeah.
up coming out of 8. Like we all saw the aid station video where he hits the poor volunteer with the bottle. And then he's standing up and throwing down. Throwing
Oh,
down how many
crazy.
watts? Standing
Yeah.
up for
Yeah.
minutes at a
Crazy.
time to catch back up and bridge the 30-meter gap back to 15. And you could say he still wasn't riding 12. He was most of the time 15, 20 meters, so that he wasn't just feeding off of Sam, but he was with Sam. And I think those surges got to Kristian at the end of the day when it just came down to muscle fatigue.
Yeah. It all ended up coming back together pretty much anyways. But the start of
Yeah.
that bike was so fun to watch with like a Jamie Riddle, Jonas Schomburg. You knew these young guys
No.
were just, it's been said they have disrespect for the distance, but in the best way, because they're just going
Yeah.
to go hard. Like from the start, on the swim, on the bike, go hard, see what they can do, try to get away. And that made it really fun to watch, especially now that we were in the position where Laidlow wasn't at the front surging with them. It definitely changed up the dynamics a fair bit with Van Riel in there too, Salzburg. Like it was so fun to watch them kind of push it right from the gun.
The first time I woke up, I saw Jonas out front, and I was like, "Yes, my legs! At least I got a chance."
Knew what was gonna happen.
Yeah. The
But I
way.
mean, he busted before I think any
Yeah.
one of us thought he would,
Mm.
and I think it was up on the plateau where he
Yeah.
first kind of dropped back.
Mhm.
Yeah, started to filter there. And then how good was it? Nick Thompson, like he just has been getting stronger and better. And we talked about it before, like he used to race crazy amount of races in a year, and now he's kind of backed it off and put more of his eggs in the basket of actually performing. And man, did he pull it off here for young guy. Like he was right
Yeah.
up there the entire time riding through.
The entire
I
time.
would
And
go ahead, Fed.
no, yeah, he looked super strong and super solid. And I was just gonna mention that the way Jonas attacked the course and the young guys, it looked that they were fired up, especially when they got out of the water and they were sprinting on T1. I was like, okay,
Looked
they
like a 4
they
sprint.
they are not letting anything up to chance. And but yeah, this course was brutal. And like you guys were mentioning, every surge counted towards placing. I think athletes who pushed too hard or were too much on the pedals, standing up and pushing big watts, it came up to bite them. And yeah, Thompson was incredible, just steady, just pushing hard. And I think he was ready to drop a lot of power on the bike.
I think he should also be getting a envelope under his hotel room door if he didn't from Casper Stornes and Gustav Iden, because like Jenna mentioned, the fact that they came into T2 with the main pack was insane. Like it was, I mean, they weren't close. And then Nick rode Casper and Gustav up to the back end of that race. So Nick Thompson brought them into T2 together with a chance to all start the run together.
Yeah, we had coming into T2, we had Van Riel only 6 seconds ahead of Sam Laidlow and Nick Thompson, with the Norwegians locked together just like 20 seconds back. So how good were those shots of the opening part of the run with all of them running together? Like, when is the last time we've seen something like that? It was
even the bike dismount 4, 5, 6 for the Norwegians. Like Kristian's like, no, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah.
Gotta see her. Like, just crazy to see. Like, I would have loved to be a spectator on that course, but just seeing the amount of talent and speed and power at the front of that race, and that, they were all coming in and battling out. And it wasn't someone off the front straight away. We've definitely seen that happen in the past, but it was just like everyone was gritting their teeth and hanging on in the best way. Like, those pictures will go down some of the best races in history, right?
And you're there and you're like, we have 2 hours and 45 minutes of racing to
How
come.
far
Like,
is it gonna go? It was so good.
I mean, soon enough, we're going to be saying 2 hours and 15 to 2 hours and 30 minutes to go. But I mean, good Lord.
Insane. Absolutely insane. So we saw, unfortunately, Thompson was kind of the first to fall off there. And
expected.
Yeah, he's crazy young and has so much more time to get that run up and coming in there. But yeah, we just had this Norwegian hype train really sticking to their name in this. And it was really fascinating to watch. I think so many of us predicted like Kristian or Gustav would have a good day. And it really did seem like Gustav had this different kind of swagger race week that we haven't seen in a very long time. So it was cool to see him kind of up there and actually performing and having a good day. But the whole run, we just saw kind of Casper. He'd fall off the back a little bit and kind of hold his pace. He kept looking at his watch, and you'll just, like you mentioned here in this interview too, where he stuck to his plan. That's all he did.
332 per K.
Yep. Just
easy.
Easy. Right? Like, how crazy. Like, the mental kind of discipline and confidence to just going in. Like, these guys are surging back and forth, going away, coming back, going away, coming back. He's just like, okay, here's the plan. Here's what we talked about prior the race. And that's what I'm going to do. And really, when it comes to Ironman, it's all about just who slows down the least. And that's exactly what he did. Like, it is crazy to see.
Yeah. And we talked about the camaraderie and everything in the interview that's coming up. You could see it on the course. I mean, they were just bantering when the three of them were together, and like Gustav and Kristian, like, and you come to find out, if you've listened to any of their interviews post race, like they were giving KB shit because he's normally the one leading the front of all of the track sessions. Well, it came back to bite him because he against that headwind, when you're trying to be KB, the guy out in front, those headwinds were a major factor on that 5K of that 10K loop, right?
Totally.
So 5K tailwind, 5K headwind, and if you played the 5K headwind correctly, it was a huge advantage, and you could see that played in for Casper on the last third and fourth lap, and just seems like he stuck to his pace, and the other ones, that's where Gustav came off of his plan a little bit, and he surged and tried to drop KB, and some of those surges caught up. And I said early on, when he missed that bottle, that's going to be a huge factor, because it's not like he missed an aid station. He missed a bottle. And we all know those bottles are loaded with a ton of stuff. And sure enough, they were, because if you've seen any of the numbers of what these athletes took in carb-wise and sodium-wise throughout the day, I mean, you're pushing, some of these guys were close to 200 an hour on the bike. And even on the run, 120, 140. I mean, Casper's numbers were insane. The heart rate data, I don't know if you guys saw, Martin Van Riel put out his heart rate data, and it was like 135 on the bike and 120 something on the run. It was like, what are you talking about?
Lionel 2.0.
Exactly. Yeah, he's right in that Laidlow camp. I saw his max is like 160 kind of thing, which that's my zone too.
No,
So
yeah,
it's
that
like,
was what I ran my aerobic zone yesterday in.
Amazing.
so,
No, but I was gonna say, I heard a lot of reports on athletes that this year was the wind conditions were stronger than 2 years ago, especially
No.
on the bike and on the run. And like you were mentioning, Josh, those 5 kilometer stretches of headwind, the way you played it, played a major factor, especially in energy conservation. And we know how important that is, especially in the later stages of the run. But my God, Casper, he looked in control the entire day and
mhm.
never slowed down, just really confident. And I didn't pick him. I don't think anyone picked him over Gustav or Kristian. Not to say that he is an incredible athlete, but just because he didn't have the results to back him up on that distance on a world championship, but that didn't that didn't have anything to do that he had the potential to win. And the way he did it, just incredible. Also, I don't know if you guys saw Rudy's post about the race. That he was saying that it felt a lot like a 70.3, and that just it was a very reactive race and just all
Yeah.
out from the get-go. And he was like, I need to figure this out because Ironman shouldn't feel this hard. But it just, I mean, it's just amazing how the bar is getting higher and higher and higher, and athletes are going faster every time. And paces that we thought were unimaginable for a full distance are now just the bread and butter of the sport.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of things changed on the plateau. Like people just realized, oh crap, I'm supposed to be throwing down 320 watts, like just chilling in aero right now. And it's
Yeah,
like they had just finished that first climb, and it's like, oh man, no, I don't have it. And yeah, the plateau certainly, and I would imagine that's where a ton of the wind was too, because you're out in the open
Yeah.
a little bit more than you are in the climb, and they were starting to feel that, and it certainly impacted Patrick Longo. I mean, he had an awful bike compared to his normal standards, and but with all of that said, and the conditions that they dealt with, like you said, Fed, 70.3 kind of race pace, Casper finished 15 minutes ahead of where Sam Laidlow won this race 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, that's
7.1.
insane.
Absolutely crazy. And you know what's interesting about this race is it almost mirrors that Bermuda race that
yeah,
kind of the Norwegians, everyone started talking about them from there. You had these three Norwegians on the podium, but again, Casper was definitely not the favorite pick for that race either. And he came in and takes the top step, and he does the
yeah,
same in Ironman. So this man is not to be underestimated
yeah.
at this point.
And if
Although
we had
this
time for
time,
a social media post of the week, it would be go check out Casper's social, because he actually had a whole week series leading into the race that no one even knew about. So every day
yeah,
he was talking about, I'm going to win. And none of
yeah,
us saw it. None of us listened.
yeah.
And the series was really well done. And lo and behold, the damn dude won.
Speaking about, I remember Casper was putting on like his swim skin, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I can run under 230, no problem." And but
The man
I
executed.
was I was gonna say that race that Jenna was mentioning in 2018. We know for a fact that Casper's counterparts were not pushing to make sure he got the W and not mess up his race. I don't think this was the case this last
No.
weekend. I don't think they were holding anything back to make sure Casper won.
That's a good point there. Yeah.
No.
Really all pushing in there. And you know what's crazy though? So we have three Norwegians, three Ironman World Championship wins, and each of them had their Ironman World Championship win on their first
The debut
attempt at the Ironman World Championships
on a different course.
on a different course. Like, how insane is that? Like, to show up to your first Ironman World Champs and win it is absolutely crazy. For the three of them to do that 3 times is unreal.
Going back to 2011 and 12, like we'll hear in this interview, like this has been a long time in the making. And the three of them, it's not like they were just kind of put together in the last few years. No, these guys have been working together. That camaraderie is legit, and it actually does make you want to rise your level the way they've built it. So it was really neat to hear the ins and outs of how it all started and got going. But the other thing I will say, and we do get a prediction for Kona next year too, so stay tuned for that.
You did.
My prediction for Kona might have come when the fourth place finisher came across the line and how pissed he was. Because Martin Van Riel literally said, "You MFers, if I had had the training I should have had, you wouldn't have had a chance in this race." That was the look I got. He was dead tired, and he was like, "I had you guys crushed with the fitness I had for this race."
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Martin Van Riel, seriously, it's just such a shame that he had the ankle injury come up and then a crash before the race too. And
The week of, yeah.
oh, it would have been so good to see someone up there and contending with him. But then you got a question too, like, did Martin push harder on the bike than he would have otherwise, just kind of knowing maybe his run isn't there at the same point? Or there's so
It's not
many,
like he bonked.
right? True.
No.
Yeah.
He just didn't have the muscle fitness on a marathon distance run. It's he still held on to fourth. He actually passed Sam Laidlow because he had dropped to fifth and then overtook him again. So I think Martin now knows, and
right
you'll see. Like, I'm sure he was pissed for multiple days. It's now Wednesday. He's probably just now starting to realize, oh shit, I can actually win this. So let's get my head back on right. And I have 70.3 worlds. So he's got a lot to look forward to. And my take was literally immediately I said, that bro's going to win Kona next year.
Yeah. As an athlete, as an athlete, there are races that you might win that you go, wow, that required every single bit of energy out of myself. I couldn't get any more out of myself to get that win. And that could be like detrimental mentally. And there are races where you don't win, like Martin, you finish fourth, and you go, my God, guys, buckle up because I'm ready to go. and I think we're gonna see a very scary Martin Van Riel. Maybe he wins Kona with an average heart rate of 127. We don't know.
Matt, you know what I got from the finish line? I'm cooked. This is just so hard.
He certainly was cooked. But he's cooked at the end of every race. Like that I mean, San Francisco photo finish, like he's just always cooked. The guy gets every ounce. But we think his heart rate's at 185 when he's coming across the line. We come to find out he's running a freaking marathon at 3:30. Insane.
Yeah. Well, and we had some other stories throughout the race too. Fortunately, my call for the win, Patrick Lange, sounds like there seemed to be a lot of sickness going into the week. It sounds like everyone kind of caught some sort of bug leading in there. But did you guys see his warm-up outfit?
Which is now for sale on Hoob, apparently.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Animal print and pink.
Yeah.
That was...
He had a decent swim.
Yeah, he had a good swim in there. I know, and that's where I was like, okay, he's on for a good one. But yeah, it just sounds like he suffered through that bike. And we know he's a stronger rider than that because he's raced here before and raced a lot better there. But the impressive part was that run after, you're 20 minutes down. You're the reigning world champion until that point.
30-something place coming off the bike.
Yeah. To run, I think it was like a 2:31 or like low 30s kind of thing. To run to push to get into the top 10 when you're the previous champ and so far down, that impressed me a bit just because.
Yeah, and he doesn't have like top 10 bonuses in his
thing.
No,
definitely not.
No.
He's not running for anything other than just doing the sport of service, I think, at that point. So that was easy to see.
I thought his was impressive. Jamie Riddle holding on for 10th because unlike Martin Van Riel, Jamie Riddle did over bike would be my guess. And he's got to learn how to put together a race over time. He's so young. But right now he's in that swim bike era, and that was probably one of his better runs and races overall. To finish in the top 10 was insane. Like we talked about, Matt Marquardt was a really big to come from 5 minutes of really not even pedaling to get to where he got on the run, and to work full time and do everything else that he does, and who
If he could like just focus on triathlon, right? Because he's not getting optimal sleep or recovery or anything trying to help.
I mean, the recovery, there's no way in hell he's getting enough. And he talks about it. I think, I mean, and Sam Long yet again stuck in there for
Yeah.
top 15. I mean, it's hard not to talk about him. And where does he belong, and the amount of time he does spend to get there. 14th place in second American is not too shabby, considering Jason West DNF'd. Matt Hansen couldn't do shit and had a really bad day and a decent run. But I mean, Sam Long was in a battle with Rudy von Berg for the finish, and like, okay, at the end of the day, you look at that. Rudy von Berg's been in a battle for the podium in the last couple of years, and there's Sam Long with him. So it wasn't everyone's day, and I think anyone in the top 15, top 20 has nothing to bat an eye about unless they ruined their day with a bad strategic move. Sam Long was 6 minutes down coming out of the swim. That's not too bad, considering where he had been.
The record, right? Like they set
Yeah.
this record going 2 minutes faster than I had before. So if
Without wetsuits, in swim skins.
No, totally. So if it were like the same times as last year kind of thing, he'd be looking at 4 minutes, which is incredible. And you think the 100K distance, he's losing like 5-6 minutes on those races. So to only lose 6 in an Ironman non-wetsuit swim shows he's definitely put some time in there and seeing some progress.
Yeah, for sure. It does sound like that Nice water's rather buoyant, though, from whatever. Knowing like there was like, I know there were some age groupers that had never done a non-wetsuit swim before, and they were like PRing the swim.
That's the kind of buoyancy I need.
Yeah.
Like, and it's the same weekend next year, so I'm like, all right, wetsuit or not, it sounds like I'll be all right. Just get a good swim skin.
Totally. Get it done. Yeah. Then we had a couple DNFs that were unfortunate there. We had Magnus Ditlev. He was definitely one of the pre-race favorites there. And it sounds like he was, again, another one of those ones who was sick kind of going in and just couldn't quite make it happen on the day. And it decided during the marathon for health reasons to kind of step off and not do any long-term damage, which you hate to see it because he's just so strong on the bike and he's just almost robotic in his consistency at times. It would have been interesting to see what he could do out there.
He was there pretty much for most of the bike too, and it was really on the run right away where he knew it was done. And I think he made it to half marathon or so before he pulled out.
Yeah. And then some of the other big names we kind of had DNF in there we had Daniel Baekkegard was out of the race, Antonio Benito Lopez DNF'd, Karen Linders, Jason West, we saw him come off.
Karen was one of the crashes too.
No, yeah, there was a few out there. But yeah, we had like some
that's the other thing. Matt Warcock crashed.
Yeah.
He lost 5 minutes early and then crashed on the descent.
And Riedel almost crashed. He made a big save on the on the curve.
Of course, there are just so many stories from this. But how I will say with the broadcast and stuff, they haven't quite got it, but they finally started to tap into let's start to show some of the historic kind of sites and talk about things other than their cadence for once in a while. And the insight from Fraser and Crowley and stuff on the course, that was really good, especially during the swim. I thought that was really cool having them in the boat next to it and actually giving some updates and stuff. So, but how good were those views? I heard it was the same team that does like the Tour de France that did the like the aerial.
There's the view of on their social media with Martin Van Rail making the pass in the mountains, and it was like, and you want to talk about cadence? I mean, he's throwing down. I mean, he's passing dudes on a straightaway in the mountains, and it's like really, really epic type looking Tour de France move.
Need like especially a course like this where it provides almost that drama, that cinematic view, like take advantage of it. And so that was very, very cool to see. It definitely made it more an interesting watch.
We all talk about the mystique of Kona, but it seems like everyone the first person to the last person, whoever was like, oh, why are they going to Nice and breaking out for Kona? Nobody wants to leave Nice now. Everyone's kind of sad that there isn't a bike course to break up this pack
Yeah.
racing that we've been seeing, and we're going to get again in Kona next year, most likely. And like you said, there is climbing, but there's no dynamic climbs and ups and downs and the descending and all that. So it is sad to see Nice go. It certainly made for a different dynamic in the race, and to the point where people had to have a WhatsApp chat to strategize.
Attack.
I'm super bummed. My whole plan this year was to qualify for Nice to go do it next year because this course looks absolutely epic. Now I'll do the 70.3, but it would have been cool to do it as the Ironman World Champs. Now I know I can go do Ironman Nice, but it's not quite the same
Right.
atmosphere.
It's funny because everyone was talking about how Kona is the home of the world champs and the best race in the world, and now that we need to let Nice go as a world championship venue, everyone's like, oh, but this race is very special to us as well. So yeah, it's sad to see Nice go, but like I said, the 70.3 will stick, and it's a shame that we don't get to see these race dynamics more often with the caliber of athletes that we have. I think there's an area of opportunity for Ironman to step it up and maybe keep Nice as a on the Pro Series as like a 2 times more points than any other race, just so that more athletes come and we still see these sort of dynamics and racing, because it's incredible to see.
And I think a lot of this, like the whole wanting Nice to stay, we didn't have this same sentiment 2 years ago when they were
Yeah.
there for the first time, right? Everyone was like, no, it's not Kona, it's Nice. I think why everyone is so excited about Nice more this year is just because the race was so dynamic and such a great event. Because when it was Sam Laidlow leading off the front kind of thing, it wasn't the same excitement when you kind of know what's
Yeah, but when it was Kat and Laura going head to head on the promenade, it started to shift some minds.
and it got more interesting, and then you have an epic race like this, right? So it's kind of interesting to think back. Like 2 years ago, people were like, oh God, we have to go back to Nice in a couple years and we're not going to get Kona. And now everyone's like, oh, Nice is pretty cool. But I think that did have a lot to do with how the dynamics of the race actually played out. And it was a real race.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's also the other piece to the Nice mystique now is it's a bigger city. It can handle bigger crowds and more sponsors and vendors and housing and all of that. So there is that aspect to it that it could even handle a race environment like this as well too. So luckily I'll get to go there next year for the 7.3 with Jenna. And we just got to get Fede qualified and we'll be doing our own our own live broadcast. Jenna might be at 70.3 Worlds this year too. So
yeah, so a little bit of an announcement there. I will definitely be at the Ironman 70.3 Worlds in Marbella. Just confirmed that about 2 hours ago. So getting some race day coverage of everything going on, cheering on a number of athletes I coach there as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll see if I can talk Ironman into some press passes and stuff so that we can get the really behind the scenes and all the pre-race press conferences and all that fun stuff. So I'll get to work on that. But this race, I almost want to watch it again because it was that good, and it definitely got me fired up leading into Kona and getting through those last few training blocks, because man, Ironman is so beautiful in the suffering that you have to endure in a way.
You just reminded me, we talked about the broadcast too. I think one of the highlights for me of the broadcast was when it was Crowe, Mark Allen, and Jan talking through the run, and it was like you could sit there and just listen to them and analyze the whole thing, and they knew exactly what was going on. I think at one point it was when Casper had gotten dropped or Gustav gotten dropped, so like stuff was actually happening, and they're analyzing and telling you what's going on, and they weren't far off at all. They pretty much nailed it, and it was just really cool to hear these legends of the sport who know and aren't very far removed from it and are still in the sport be on the broadcast and have that perspective.
And how humble is Crowe? Like, he's talking about Mark Allen and Jan Frodeno and stuff. It's like, this dude's won it a number of times in there. Matt, that's what they need more of. The commentators could use like the overall commentators could use some work in there, but those insights and those interviews I think were really good. They still did miss a couple passes and everything, but you can see there was really concerted effort to improve and adapt and make this broadcast something really cool to watch. And I definitely think they did that.
I think the other piece of the run, real quickly, because I think the whole product and the whole weekend and the lead up, I think that the Ironman did a great job and crushed it in terms of all the hype. Was you have a Patrick Lange in your field, and you know he's running through, and he got to the top 10, and we didn't see him once. And it's not like you have 5K to cover on the run course.
No.
What is going on? Flash me a leaderboard and put that +6 arrow. I don't want to have to go to my Ironman tracker to find out what's going on and who's moving through the field, because every second matters, every point matters, and maybe not in Patrick's world, but I want to know that without having to look at my app to find out what's going on. And on a course like that, it's made for them to be able to cover it and show it to you every once in a while. That's my only other thing on that. I think other than that, it was a pretty good home run and really fun to watch.
Totally.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of chatter since and stuff about how good it was to have the looped course on the run so that you could have spectators out there and have just the excitement around it, and how much better it looks as a TV product having a bunch of people on course. So I know there's been lots of people pushing for doing something similar in Kona, where it goes down a Leahy Drive, do laps of that, or a little bit more, because that run, when you head out on the highway and there's no one on the highway or through the energy lab except for the eight.
No one.
Kind of, and it's just, you're definitely in your own head, and I have mixed feelings about it. Like,
I think you and everyone has mixed feelings on it.
Yeah.
The Ironman that is the challenge. You're out there. There's no one around. No one sees you if you walk or if you stop or if you slow down. It's just this internal mental battle, you versus the road ahead kind of thing, without any external factors pumping you up or boosting you, right? Versus
the race isn't covered by the wild world of sports anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. Versus the TV production pulling new people into the sport, and just as a spectator would be so much more fun to watch if they're going up and down Alihi, because I was out there last year and just kind of watching the first bit of the race where they do go up Alihi and back. And that was a lot of fun to be able to actually
and
get
then they're gone.
See how they're doing. Yeah, you don't see them for another hour and a half, and then they come back. So definitely, I'd be curious to see if they ever have those discussions, because it sounds like under Scott Drew, they're definitely making some changes and listening to the audience a lot more. So be curious to see where people kind of stand on that.
Yeah, I mean, the sport is progressing, and sports in general, the world, everything's got to make changes. We're back in Kona because of the mystique. Do we have to hold on to everything else because of that mystique too, or can we make adjustments towards the production of the product? And that is going to be a key aspect of growing the sport now that we go to fewer people being able to get there. And having a 1 day 2,600, 3,000 rack transition area for males and females. Now you're gonna. Why do people want to be there? We got to show them what it's like there, every inch of the race. And if you're gonna capture people for 7.5 to 8.5 to 9 hours, that's what's got to be there. And I was still watching the finish line cam and seeing Casper there at 1 a.m. That's cool stuff. And like, how does that get out to the world? Because that stuff transcends just triathlon, and that's the value of what this sport can bring to the table, is those real world stories at the end of the mass participation aspect of the race too. So it starts with the coverage of the pros for the inspirational piece, and then how do you translate that over to the age group side?
Yeah. Man, well, this was an absolutely epic race. So glad we got the chance to recap it. And you guys definitely stay tuned, because we have oh my goodness, I'm forgetting how to say his name.
Arild.
Arild. Oh my goodness. Arild on. So if you don't know, he's the one who kind of involved with the Norwegian Federation early days and was part of that development series, which included, Casper Stornes, Gustav Iden, and Kristian Blummenfelt, and kind of started the foundation of the athletes that they are today. He has some really insightful stories of them and how that whole program started. And it sounds like a lot of the culture and lessons that were instilled in those early days were a massive part of the success that they're seeing now. So I don't know about you guys, but that was a fascinating interview to do.
Really awesome, fun interview going back 14, 15, 16 years in terms of his
21,
relationship with
that's
these
crazy.
three guys and how he was a so-so triathlete, and that's how it started, and working for a heart rate company, and that's really where
Yeah.
this all is. And yeah, really cool interview, and appreciate his time for it, and hopefully the audience will enjoy.
Totally.
Absolutely. We'll pop in now, and we will be back to chat again with you guys next week.
See you guys.
Awesome. Bye.
As mentioned, after the excitement of this weekend's racing at the Ironman World Championships in Nice, we've got a special guest on. We've got Arild, who has been a part of the Norwegian Olympic cycle and training and a big part of the background of the Norwegians who are on the podium in Nice this weekend. So we wanted to have him on to learn a little bit about how kind of this all started and to learn a little bit about him and his background. And as always, I'm joined by Josh and Fede, but let's start by saying hi. Arild, how are you doing after a crazy weekend?
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm doing fine. But it's like, was a crazy weekend, really fun watching the guys perform as I did in Nice. But it's very quickly back to reality. I'm right now at altitude in Forumeux in France. So I'm back to my normal work. Okay, I've been at my normal work most of the time, but I spend a Sunday in the couch watching the guys racing, and it's still like really exciting that I were able to execute the race as I did. I'm like really proud of what they do and how they are working together as friends and teammates. So it was just great watching. So it's a kind of take some time to absorb it all, and yeah, but I'm very happy for them.
That's fantastic. And before we kind of jump into their race this weekend and their training, why don't you tell us a little bit about you? How did you get started in all of this?
Yes, I started doing triathlon myself in a kind of a young age. So I was an triathlete myself. We didn't have any. Okay, so that was that part. I started doing some coaching 20 years ago in triathlon, and I'm, as you know, from Norway. Norway had at that time no history in triathlon, no good result, a very tiny small federation. But then come a time then where the federation want to start to develop young athletes with the task of having athletes qualify for the Olympics. And out of, I don't know, they asked me if I could join that process and be a part of that. And I must say that the first time I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I have a good job. I was doing some online coaching with age group where I think that was funny. I like Ironman more than I did like short distance, short course. But in the end, I was asked to join a training camp for the promising Norwegian youth athlete, and that was in October 2010, yeah. And I was suddenly I was there and I met a bunch of athletes it was actually all young Norwegian triathletes we had in Norway at that time, and that was around 15. In that group at that weekend, it was Kristian Blummenfelt, it was Gustav Iden, it was also Mikael Iden, who's now a head coach for the Norwegian Federation. Casper Stornes, he joined the year later. But anyway, I liked what I saw. I liked that athlete, but I was still, I'm not sure if I want to do this. But then the federation asked, can you just try to coach one of these athletes? And we think we have one athlete who could be pretty good. That was Kristian Blummenfelt. I said, okay, yeah, I can try to see if I enjoy coaching young athletes and if I had it in me to develop young athletes toward an Olympic cycle. And so I said yes. And I really enjoyed working with Kristian. So during that year, that was in 2011, I was asked, yeah, you sure you don't want to have a position in the federation as a sport director? I said, yeah, maybe I can do that. And And actually, in the end of 2011, I said yes to a 50% position in as a sport director in the federation. And then I started working a little bit more with some of the other athletes we had at that time too. So that was the story. And in the beginning, I didn't know. It's not that I didn't know what I did, but it was very new for me coaching young athlete, and I wasn't quite sure how to do it. But yeah, it turned out to be pretty good, and I really enjoyed the work there, and we had some really great times during the first year.
That's really interesting, like how they picked out Kristian for you. And was there something in testing or that he had done at that age where he had already kind of been picked out and they saw or you saw, and kind of what was your coaching philosophy at that moment? Now you've got this short course athlete that you've got to coach up to the expectations.
Yeah, for sure. At that time, Kristian was one of the 2-3 most promising athletes they had. He came from a swimming background, so his swimming at that time was good. So he was one of the best swimmer. It was another young athlete who was also really, really great in swimming, who was seen to be the top pick. And it's kind of crazy now we look at it, because it was not many athletes, and two of the athletes who was there was like Gustav Iden, and honestly, Gustav at that time, he was really shit in swimming because he just started doing triathlon. So some of the guys from the federation said, don't count him, he will not be good. But anyway, it was something special with Kristian. One thing was, he was at that time very quiet, didn't say so much, but he always did the work, was like really hardworking guy, and he had an attitude that he wanted to do. He said at that time he wanted to be the best, and so that was kind of a good pick. And I must say that when you develop a coaching philosophy, and someone call it Norwegian Method, whatever, we were in an area where never been any young athletes in Norway performing well in short course. We never had any athletes in the Olympics. We didn't have any coaches working with young athletes. So it was a little bit, okay, what should we do? Should I figure out this myself, or how could I do it? And in the beginning, everyone like, you need to look to Australia, you look to US, you need to look there, they are so good. And I was like, I'm not sure I want to do that, because also at that time, Norway was having kind of a reputation to produce endurance athletes, like in marathon, cross-country skiing. Okay, that's a tiny little sport that almost no one does outside of Europe. But we had some pretty good result in marathon. We had some pretty good middle distance runner. And I started to look into a little bit of what I did. And I think, how can I transform that into triathlon? And then I kind of created a kind of a philosophy what I thought we needed to do. And I was maybe a little bit naive. And I was thinking, I do see that the way I thought I was going to develop the athlete was totally different than what the normal approach in most countries. It was more like, you need to develop the speed, and then you can take the endurance in the next step. And I was more like, I don't think this is the time you can build a big training foundation, high volume, low intensity, technical work, have fun, do a little bit mix of speed work, but just build up a big base of a lot of volume training. But you need to do it in a way that the athletes you have actually wanted to do it and enjoy doing it. And as it was kind of maybe it's a good mix that I started with Kristian, because he never complained. He also understands that he wants to be good. He needs to train a lot. And it was a lot of things that we did that maybe other athletes could be injured or overtrained or whatever, but he could handle everything. And within just, I would say, quite short time, 2-3 years, we were kind of fine-tuning a system that all the other young athletes kind of benefit of. And we were creating a culture with yeah, everyone enjoyed training. We were training a lot of volume. When you start doing that in the beginning, you just train, and then you understand, we need to have a kind of intensity control. So then we learn the athletes teach them about the control, the intensity. In that time, we just make it easy, just use heart rate and a relative effort, how you feel when you do different kind of session. We included intervals. I want them to be a little bit more controlled intervals, like thresholds, and then we just build it stone by stone. But it was always from the first year, it was kind of a big training volume. And I say that I'm very lucky that you have like so driven, highly motivated athletes that it was very easy to incorporate it. And it was, I think a lot about it because what we did was very different than everyone else did. And when we were on training camp, different places, and we saw other athletes and maybe some athletes from other countries sometimes joined us. We heard that, oh, what you do is crazy. This is not sustainable. Everyone will crack, and you will never be successful. But I do think the history has shown something different because we have a history with that kind of training since, as I started with Kristian in 2011, but Kristian, Gustav, Casper, and other athletes that were part of that system from 2011, 2012, and we have been having many great years with a lot of good training camps. So yeah, it seems to be working.
You can definitely say that again. It absolutely has been. And the crazy part to me is that you found these 3 athletes, and obviously there are other kids involved in this program, in such a small area that ended up being class. So you got to account that it had to be a lot due to that coaching and that just development that they had over the years, that you could take them and develop them to where they have been. Where did you reach a point where those 3 kind of started to stand out, where they started to get on to the Olympic distance races and into the WTCS? Was there kind of a turning point, or was it just kind of those were the 3 that survived at that point?
No. I try to. It's not the 3 that survive. As I said, that when I started on the training camp weekend in October 2010, it was less than 20 athletes. That was everyone in Norway actually doing triathlon below 60. And out of that, we got 3 to the Olympics, and 1 is now the national head coach. So I do think that is a kind of a successful factor. Is very few who were burned out, very few. It was not anything like throwing egg against the wall and see who will survive. And I also have seen afterwards that, except few minor injury, that the injury history to most of these athletes is very little. They have very few injuries over years.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So of course they have been able to be very consistent in what they've been doing. But I honestly believe that doing volume, building up the body to tolerate the volume, doing interval at a more controlled intensity like threshold, instead of crushing it like all out max session, it's a different demand, stress on the body, and it's much more sustainable over time. So I would say that we have pretty good history with most of these athletes. But of course, in all high performance environments, someone want to follow different path and want to study. And it's also in triathlon, if you are not able to get to a certain level at a certain point, you maybe don't have the motivation to continue working. So I was kind of into that. I felt that I need to get the athletes from the last year in the junior ranking. They need to be so good they could also do senior WTCS races, and I need to start getting on, if not on a podium, but at least at the level where I start to earning some money, so they can see that was worth it. So I was always like that. Even if a junior, we send them out to do Olympic distance race pretty early, because I felt they were ready for it. Of course, they were not good. They didn't win the first years, but they did World Cup, they did WTS. They were also pretty young when many of them did the first 70.3 Ironman. Gustav was 19 when he did the first 70.3 and actually won it. So, but that was always the part of the development plan to let them be successful in the Olympics in the future. And I knew at that time that maybe the training we did that was very suitable for 70.3 and was kind of easy to swap distance and do both. And I always believe that doing a little bit long distance 17.3 racing has been good for their development to be really good in Olympic distance and also short sprint distance races. So that's it seems to have been working out well. But of course, Ironman training is a little bit different. So
I've always been amazed in how you managed to put together such an incredible group of athletes, and because it seems that they are friends first, and they love to compete against each other. My question for you is, I also believe it's very important, and your role was key into making sure these athletes, as they were growing up, stayed true to their cause and always following the goal of pursuing the Olympics, and that every single thing that they did was a stepping stone in building towards what you wanted to accomplish. And also, I think it's very difficult to keep together such a small group of athletes in the long run. How did you manage like different personalities, or how did you kept reminding them of the end goal, not getting distracted by this race or that race, or when things weren't going good? What was the things that you talked to them to keep them on track and focused?
it's a big question. It's a lot of things. I'll just take a throwback. When I was an athlete myself, I was in a position that I maybe could qualify for the first Olympic in Sydney. I didn't. I wasn't even close. But I honestly, the limited factor for me that I said to myself that I living in Norway is too cold, it's too shitty conditions. We don't have the money to develop, and the point that I made a lot of excuses for myself why me as an athlete from Norway could not be one of the best in the world. So when I started with the group, I said, first, I will never, ever say anything like that to my athletes. So I was very clear that, okay, I honestly think that we can be the best in the world. We have no limiting factor here. We can do all the training that everyone else in the world does. We just need to believe in it, and we need to do something better than the others. If that's also a part of develop kind of a training methodology. If you just copy what the others do, a copy will never be as good as something else or the original. So I want to create something new. And I was thinking, I said to them, and now I can say that I didn't know if it was true, but I said, I do think that we are creating the best training program in the world. We should show everyone in the world that we train most and best than everyone in the world. And we stick to the plan. And the ultimate goal is always to be best in the world and have a path that can lead us to winning the Olympic goal. I do think that, I don't know why, but in a way, the athletes start to believe in it, and everyone thought that, wow, this is possible. And they really enjoyed to train a lot and feel that they were doing something more and better than the rest of the world. And when they're getting older, spending more time together on training camp. We spend a lot of time building that culture, building that team, that everyone thought that everything was possible and there was no limitation, but you just need to do the training. So everyone knew that there was no shortcuts. They just need to do the training day in and day out. And they were like able to create an environment that everyone enjoyed it. Everyone wanted to be a part of it, and everyone supported each other. And then in the beginning, when you are young, you want to race each other. You want to be the best. You want to win the training. But when we are putting more emphasis of the intensity control, they actually teach that, okay, that is actually not the most important. The most important thing that I do the session how I needed to do it, so I can be the best athlete I can be. And that is some of the thing that over the year that's like really impressive to see, because okay, if you are at a training camp, an altitude camp or whatever, and you are training 3 sessions a day in 4 weeks, of course, everyone have shitty days. Not everyone is at their best every day. But you will see that during a long period of time, they have different days where they're good and different days where they're not so good. So they start to trust on themselves. And if we're doing intervals and they know that, okay, today I should run at this pace, I have this in lactate. If they could not perform at that pace, they said, okay, then I just stick to the lactate. And then they saw that some of the others on the team, maybe they were faster and I'm running away from them, but I would say, okay, I'm still doing the training I need. I have the same outcome of this session as the others, but right today, I cannot doing at the same level, at the same pace as the others. So they start to accept that, and they started to share on the others and encourage the others, and the opposite. So if someone having a bad day, they say, okay, next day you will have a good day. You just stick to the plan. Just be consistent, follow the plan, trust yourself, and it will be good. And they have that kind of conversation with each other, and like really, really supportive. Of course, it was an element of competition within the training or stuff like that, but whenever, or if they should have a control threshold session, what we call LT2, it will never ever happen that they give a shit about the intensity and just race themselves. They were always very controlled, because they also knew that there was some session, there was some races where you race them, but not in the daily training. And that I also think is like really good to find that the good mix and the balance. And I do think that is the way we created that culture was really unique, and most athletes really benefited of it. But of course, honestly, it was some athletes who find it too hard or too difficult. So of course, not everyone was able to follow that over the years. But as I say again, I think many of these athletes we have from the first day in the junior national youth team, they stick into triathlon. I was at a really high level for many, many years. So yeah, so that's good.
So we all know, I mean, the volume, you've talked about it a lot, the specific training you've talked about a lot, but with that, we all know now comes nutrition and recovery. How much of that was your doing, or how hard was it to get these young kids to eat the right stuff and actually go to sleep at the right times, and how much of that has been as big of a piece as the actual training itself?
I would say that is maybe one part that developed most over the years, not only in our group, but I do think in all endurance top athletes, the knowledge about nutrition today is so different than when I raced Ironman. What we survived in Ironman in the 90s is just crazy compared to what I do. Yeah, it's two different worlds. But one of the things we did every year, we were at altitude camp. We were most of the time in Forumø. We spent 4 to 6 weeks every summer there. We rented cabins. We made all the food together. So even the young athletes at 17, 80s, they need to be in charge of the cooking. And of course, we tried to make them to understand what they needed to fuel to eat good. But I must say that the dinner we had maybe from Kristian and Gustav in 10 years ago was maybe not the highest quality, but it was a lot of food. but they understand the importance of getting in the nutrition and getting in the calories. They learn to prepare the food. We were sitting together and eating the food in the cabins, lunch and dinner together every day. Yeah, and if you sit at a table 1, maybe 2 hours sometimes because you have a good time, you have plenty of time to eat a lot if you want to. But then again, in the beginning, we didn't know anything more than everyone else, but that is something that come a little bit later. And and as we all know that today, nutrition plays a much bigger importance of the training. And for us, one of the things that the last year we start talking more and more about it, that on every session, even if it's a long or short session, you need to fuel yourself, and it's not about the session itself, it's also to prepare yourself for the next session. And as a triathlete, where you most of the time doing 3 sessions a day, you actually prepare your next session during the earlier session and the session you do because always a new session who come, and that is like very different approach. Now, of course, it's no problem to go out for a 2-hour bike ride with just water, but if you should run and swim in afterwards, maybe that's not the best thing to do. So yeah, that comes much more later on. But of course, today we all know how important it is. It is more or less the more you train, the more you need to eat, and the more you are able to eat, the more you can train. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know there was one race that kind of exploded this Norwegian hype train on the circuit, and everyone started talking about them, was with that Bermuda result with the 1, 2, 3 on the podium, to the point where no one was expecting it. And it sounds like they didn't have enough Norwegian flags for the awards ceremony.
Yeah.
But can you tell us a little bit about kind of going into that race, what the expectations were, and then, what happened during the race, or how you felt afterwards?
Yeah. Oh, okay. That is a lot of funny story. We're talking about the flags. I must say that one of the really most special moment for me, it was on the last lap on the bike, even before they started the run. Casper was in a big lead, and maybe you remember that. Gustav and Kristian were in the other group, front group, and they would just be with the group, and then they attack and get away alone. And I was there seeing that all together, and then the guy who in charge of the sponsorship in WTS, Chris Gamble, former athlete, he came to me and said, "Arild, yes, I have a question for you. Yes." It's kind of a strange question. Yes, what is it? I was kind of stressed. Do you have an extra Norwegian flag? What? Yeah, no, we just have 2 with us. And what should we do if we have 3 on the podium? I said, okay, let me check. And we were kind of lucky. The mother to Kristian was there. So I was able to get the flag from her, which was also the flag I gave to Casper when he was running toward the finish line. But I need to take the flag away and give it to the organization committee so they can have it on the on the victory ceremony afterwards. So that was kind of a funny story, and it was a really fun, strange moment. But okay, back to your question. We felt that the training leading up to that race was like really, really good. We had spent time, tried to look through the course and see if there's any place where we can make a difference. The course at that time, it was like kind of an easy course, but it was a kind of a big, steep, short uphill. And in the beginning, it was like, okay, we kind of saw that, okay, it's very natural to see that, okay, if you should make a difference, you need to attack there. But then we thought, no, as we know triathletes, everyone will go 150% up the hill because they don't want to be dropped. And then they need to recover the next lap. So we were like, okay, maybe we maybe start working on going really hard for, I think it was 90 seconds, and then push the pace further. So we actually did a lot of training at altitude, where we practice on the outcome that we more or less not attack, but keep a high power after the hill. So that was actually where Casper, maybe you say he attacked, but he actually didn't attack. He just did what he was told to do and we planned to do. And then he suddenly saw that, oh, no one else was doing the same as him, so he just rather continue following the plan. So the whole training we lead up to that was, we never thought we could be triple on the podium. That was never in our thought, but that we can fight for the win, that we were pretty sure of. But honestly, we didn't think it could be Casper. But it was the perfect day for him, and the others, like you saw there, they wanted Casper to win, so they didn't. So when they just attacked from the front group when they could not destroy Casper's race. So they were like really waiting and be patient and find the right moment to do that. And yeah, so it's that was likely the first time people could see how they were working together and how we were working together, and it was really great. The training we did, everything was perfect, and we had a good plan, and they executed it, and yeah, it was fun. And also at that time, I remember on the last lap, the mother to Casper called me and said, "Oh, do you think he can win it? He looks so tired." I said, "No, relax, he will win. Take it easy, slow. It will be so fun." Okay, yeah. And then, yeah, he of course he won the race. So, but that was a great moment for us.
That's really neat. It's I mean, and there's so much talk about that going into this race in Nice, and you would hear it referenced a lot and talked about, and there were some opportunities even in Frankfurt this year. But then all of a sudden you get closer to the Nice race this week, and it was like nobody talked about it. Nobody actually predicted it. And sure enough, it happened again. Similar to what you excuse me, what you said in Bermuda. It was not what you expected, but the boys pulled it together. But one of the things that I wanted to ask was, and we've seen it over the last few years, and we know Tokyo and how successful Kristian was there. But since then, there's been a lot of up and down, and short course and long course, and how has that training been managed? Because a lot of people think like what Kristian's been able to do between the two is remarkable, but it's also impacted maybe some of his results at each distance as well. And how much has that been talked about and implemented, and how have you managed that?
Yeah, no, as you likely know that I was not like, after the Tokyo Olympics, I was not like deeply in, I was not involved in his training at all. They have a really successful way towards St. George Ironman win, and he was also pretty good in Kona that year, but that was, of course, Gustav was better. But there was a lot of talk about is a lot of athletes who've been able to make the switch going from short to long, but going back is much harder. Mm-hmm. And I know that Kristian, with his coach during this year, the main challenge for them, and one of the reasons I really want to do that, is I want to show that it was possible to do both things, to actually both win an Ironman and be a world champion and come back and win an Olympic championship again. But I do think we can see that afterwards that maybe I don't think it's impossible, but it's like really hard, because you lose a little bit of the top end speed with the extreme Ironman training you do, and it could be difficult to get it back. But I was pretty certain that I could, if there was someone in the world who could do it, it would be them. But yeah, it's very different in the way you train. I said that when I coached them towards the Olympics, for them doing some 17.3 on the training we did was no problem. But again, going up to Ironman distance is always something different. It's a different league and different training, and you stress the body very differently.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Now, we know that they're kind of doing their own thing, coaching basically each other themselves, coming up with their own training plan. And there sounds like a lot of that is kind of Kristian led. But on the race day in Nice, kind of while you're watching this all go down and seeing the three of them in the front from the bike, was there a point where you kind of thought, no, they've got it, they're going to pull off another podium? When did you think that, yeah, this could actually happen again?
I when I saw No, the first time actually were when Casper caught up to the group. Then I thought, wow, this could happen. But I was pretty sure that Van Riel and Sam Laidlow didn't have the same running legs as the Norwegian boys. But then, of course, then he got dropped again. And then I was thinking, oh shit, he's looking tired. But then I saw that he was continually looking at his watch. So I knew that he was just pacing himself really, really well. So it was actually at that time when he caught up to it, and that was like, it was on the first lap on the way back after the first turnaround. So I do think that it was pretty early, but of course, you know that it's still 2 hours of running to go, and you're always a little bit nervous if one of them blowing up. And but that was the time when I started believing that could happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was going through your head when you started to see Kristian kind of cramping in that last little bit there?
Oh yes, I was like really, really nervous. But then I also tried to stay calm. I saw that he had a kind of a big lead, and I know that he's a fighter. Is no chance that he will give up that podium spot. So I knew he would fight for it, and it was no way he would lose so much. But of course, you're getting nervous. I know races he have done, and he for sure hasn't been able to finish the race due to cramps. So, but that's not happened too often. So normally he's able in one way or the other to make it work. So it was not good enough for the win, but it was good enough for a podium. And yeah, I'm really happy for them.
Yeah, all kudos. It sounds like, especially with kind of Casper's result and stuff, it goes back to a lot of what you ingrained in them early on to, listen to your body, put in the effort that you can on that day, not kind of, it seems like he played it really smart. He wasn't racing the others so much as he was staying within himself, pacing it correctly, knowing what his body could do. And that ultimately took him to the win. So that was very cool to see, and cool to hear your background of how maybe that mindset started with those training camps and took him to a world championship in the end.
Yeah. No, it's of course. I must say that I'm very happy for all of them, but the way Casper executed the race was like almost it was perfect. You couldn't have done it better, and that he has the confidence in himself that he could do it. It's a big step for him. It's not long time ago he never had the confidence and believe in himself to do it. He will follow the others. He would also, out of T2, he will normally run too fast to catch up to them, but he's matured so much the last year that I'm really impressed. And I know that it's because of the influence they have together, training together, creating the training program together. And I know they play a big part of each other result, all of them. So it's great to see.
Well, I think that's a perfect. Go ahead, Fede.
Sorry, I was just going to say that it seems to me that every time the regions go to race, ever since you took them up when they were very young and up until this point, when we see them sweeping the podium again, they're always ready and prepared. And I think part of the success of the quote unquote Norwegian method is that one thing is to train hard and another is to be prepared. And it seems to me that ever since they were young, you prepared them to be ready to execute the race. And that goes to show when the Bermuda hill to attack on top of the hill and breaking the group. And then I'm sure they had a plan right now in Nice. So I think that goes to show how mentally and physically prepared they are, that they can showcase and excel at whatever they do. And obviously, it also seems that you are prepared in that way right now at a different position. But yeah, I think that's what sets the Norwegians apart, that they are always ready to execute, not just race hard, but race hard and race smart.
Yeah, thank you. No, I try to build that into the culture very early on, that to prepare really well for the races. But again, we had to do with some like really unique athletes. And if you ask many of the European athletes who've been racing with this guy when they were young and juniors, you would have hear a lot of story about the strange preparation they did. And I can mention Kristian Blummenfelt here when he was, I think he was 16. He was allowed to go on a development camp for the Europeans, development country, because we were not so good at that time. And he was being caught standing in front of the mirror and practicing taking on and off his helmet several. It's not like one time or two times, like hundreds of times, just to hit in the clip as quick as possible. So he was always doing these small extra things to prepare himself, and he had a big influence on the other athletes on the team. They saw that every time he went into training, he was prepared, and he also challenged us as the coaches that if we were not prepared, he let us know. And over the years, of course, we've been together so many years. It was time where the coach was tired, that we were not prepared, we were not our best. But he always let us know when he was not happy. But he also let us know when he was happy. And but he set the standard. So it's not that that me did what I did. It was a part of the culture, and I do think some of the things we did with the whole team would be very difficult to achieve if we didn't have these extreme athletes that we have, and which they are today. So they're really, the result they're producing is because they are the athletes they are. It's not, of course, we have coaches there, we have done a lot of planning, but they're also kind of unique athletes.
So my last question, and I was going to say, you can tell that's why Kristian was so good at Super Try, because he was sitting there taking his helmet on and off so quickly.
Yeah, that was one of the things we practice, yeah.
Who do you have for Kona 2026?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a big one. There is a saying that is kind of easy to win Kona one time, World Championship one time, but it's really hard to win it twice. And now we have 3 Norwegian that all won it one time each. And I do think, I was thinking about it, and I think it's, okay. I would say that I know that what's happened in the weekend is it's not that the Norwegian is built that they are happy and satisfied with what they have achieved. They're even more hungrier to be even better next year and even better at the Kona. And I do think that the one who really wanted most is Kristian. But it could be the other 2 guys who stabbed me, but I would say that Kristian will continue in triathlon until he have won Kona. So there's no way he will not do that race without winning it. So I would say him, but I would say to everyone else, they're in charge of their own training, they control themselves, but this is just a motivation boost. They really want to be better next year. And okay, and first, before that, we have the World Championship for 3 in Marbella. I also think that Kristian there will be like really difficult to beat. So I'm really looking forward to both the next races and the next year too.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. It was really great to get some more insight into that background and just hear more of those stories, because they are a fascinating crew, and it's been cool to see how far they've come from a budding federation with no triathletes to now standing on the top of the world, really. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. It's just nice being here, and yeah, it was good.
Well, we will be watching for them in the 70.3 in Marbella, and who knows, maybe another Norwegian podium cross.
Let's hope so.
That would be hard one, but too.
What did you say?
To take the whole pro series of the overall season.
Yeah.
Podium as well.
that would be perfect. Yeah, they're in the position that is doable. Yes.
Reality.
So
Yeah.
finger crossed.
Perfect. Well, have a good night, everyone.
Same
Thank
to
you,
you.
Arild.
Okay.